It is the time of the month for the next Staff 5 video. We are going to break down the baits that we've actually been using for the last month, that we've been having some fun and enjoying. Instead of telling you, hey, these are the best baits for this month, we're going to actually just show you what we've been using, how to use them, and hopefully that sheds some lights on maybe some unique baits, some cool ways to do it. So if you'd like to have some fun, meet the characters of the shop, and see what we're actually using, let's have some fun. This is our Staff 5. Welcome back, my friends. Once again, we are starting the best at first. Isn't that how it goes? Start the best in the beginning.
First.
Yeah.
Right.
End with the worst one.
Yes. 100%.
That's always the way, right?
That's me normally.
Okay, so here we go. After this, you guys can tune off.
Just leave.
Just get out of here. All right. This month has been kind of an odd month. I haven't had as much fishing time as normal with iCast in Japan and lots of travels, but I have had the opportunity to play with a really cool bait that is actually coming. Hopefully we should see this by mid to end of August. I'm really excited for you guys to get this in your arsenal. This is the new Teckel Kicknocker BD. BD standing for Big Dog, okay? So this is going to be available in all the usual colors. We're also making it in our 3 shop custom colors. White Walker, this used to be Ghost Geisha. I've thrown the shit out of it. Sake Bomber, okay? So, I mean, you can see on this Ghost Geisha, I've literally worn all the paint off. We've been throwing it so much. This is a very special topwater bait because it's taking the Kicknocker, which is my favorite topwater, and it's giving us a magnum size. There is a side-by-side comparison. Like, it's not just a little bit bigger, it's much, much bigger, okay? So you're going from this basic kind of a 3/4, almost 1 ounce Kicknocker to a 2 ounce. So it's about 160 millimeters. It's a 2 ounce size. The great thing about it, it's made out of the same material as Kicknocker. It has a very similar sound, right? So you're getting that really loud sound. But the reason I like the Kicknocker Big Dog this time of the year is this is an amazing bait to call suspended fish to you, okay? That's always been kind of the claim to fame for the original Kicknocker and even the pup as well, because it's a very loud bait. But this one just amplifies it even more. And what I've been finding is what's happening out here is probably very similar to what's happening to a lot of you guys, is that the bait is very, very tiny right now. Shad, bluegill, bass, everything spawned just 2 to 3 months ago. So there's so much little 1 inch, 2 inch bait. And there's a lot of fish that are feeding on those bait in open water, and then they're suspending in the in-between time. So I find that when the bass are super keyed in on these really tiny bait, that you have to go one way or the other. You either have to match the hatch, which means you got to go to a tiny little bait like a, I don't know, like a pencil 65 or a Sammy 65. You got to throw, you know, little karashis, really, really light tackle. Or I find that if you go the opposite way and give them something exponentially bigger, that it also has a triggering effect. And I don't know if it's like a trance or if it's a confusion or if they're just curious, but a lot of times if they're eating little 2 inch bait and you throw a 4 inch lure, they don't touch it. They know that shit's not right. But you come with something that's just big and loud and obnoxious that they haven't really seen before, they crush it. A lot of you guys back east that are chasing herring fish, gizzard shad fish, are going to love some of, you know, the shad colors, the chrome colors. This is going to fit right in as a larger walking profile bait. Now, this bait walks almost as easy as an original Kicknocker. And this has been the challenge. You know, this size plug isn't necessarily new, right? Megabass has a Megadog. They have a Megadog X. There's a Depths big bait. There's several baits in this category. But they're so difficult to walk that this kind of changes things and makes it super easy. So you can fish this just like a regular Kicknocker. You can throw this and fish it on your just regular Kicknocker rod. So, you know, I throw the Kicknocker on the Madbull. Madbull works great for this bait as well. The one thing I will caution you on is it is 2 ounces. So if you're going to cast it on a Madbull, you have to really kind of lob it. Once it's in the water, it walks it great. A couple of other rod options, and this is really going to be the key to the bait. The bait catches them. You just got to dial in your rod. I started throwing it on the Mark 56 and the Megadog Magic, which is basically a Mark 56 as well. This rod throws it incredibly well, but it's a big rod to walk all day. So if you want to spend all day walking this bait, you're going to want to go to a little smaller rod. I've kind of landed at the Diffuser from Braid, so it's a 7.4 rod built to handle baits of this size, but it's got a short grip length, and that's the key. You can see it kind of matches the Madbull in grip length, so it's a very easy rod for me to walk all day, pretty effortless, and really controls that bait well. So again, we expect to see them mid to end August, but this is going to be a bait that's going to really extend the topwater season and give you just a completely different option in your arsenal. So look for that. I hope you enjoy it. The Teckel Kicknocker BD, or Big Dog. Let's take you over to Julius now. We're going to invite him to be part of our Staff 5. Let's see what that knucklehead's been up to. Enjoy, guys.
What's up, guys? Hippie here. For this month's Staff 5, my pick is a worm. Of course, who would have thought, right? But it's the dog days of summer. It's super hot out here. These fish are pushed off, you know, on some of these ledges and humps and that kind of stuff. And of course, everyone is throwing a worm. It's hard to get a bite, so you got to finesse, but a lot of guys are using, you know, some of those classic baits like a trick worm or a robo worm, and of course, those get bit, no problem, but they see them a lot. So my approach is I've got to be finessey, but I want to be a little bit different than everyone else, and that's why I went with the OSP HP 3D Wacky. And we fished it a couple different ways today, but what makes this bait different and separates it from others is this unique split tail appendage on the rear. So they just split that worm up, and what that does is, you know, when you're applying these techniques I'm going to go over, it just looks super natural to the fish and looks like something that they haven't seen before, so it gets a lot of bites. The first way that we fish this bait today is on a drop shot rig. Drop shot rig is super effective when these fish are, you know, offshore and how we're fishing today. But what's a little bit different, as you can tell, is I have a super long leader on this. And my reason for that is when I'm fishing these, you know, offshore places, I'm dragging this bait along, and what I want to do is kind of apply what we call escaping action. So that long leader allows me to kind of snap my rod, pop, and that bait's going to pulsate forward, and those appendages are going to, you know, kind of work with the water and look super natural, but I don't lift my weight up off the bottom. So it's not like a pick up and drop. That bait's all freely moving, and I'm still have bottom contact. So super unique way, you know, to kind of mix up your drop shot fishing. I'm wacky rigging it, so as it comes through the water, those legs are splitting, and, you know, guys, those pressured fisheries, this is really going to shine, and actually a fun way to fish. Another technique that I tried and works really well is actually why this bait was designed, and that is the Neko rig. We call it the dick rig on the West Coast. Well, we won't get into that, but that guy right there, super deadly whether you're fishing shallow or deep. Today we were fishing deep, so I have a bigger nail weight in it, but that's on that Scrum Hook, so by OSP, so I can make it weedless and just crawl that bait through the rocks and efficiently fish it. You know, Neko rig's been around, or sorry, Neko rig's been around a while, and it just gets bites. So that's the 4.3 inch 3D Wacky on that guy. You know, as far as equipment, you don't need anything too special. Your drop shot rods are, you know, gonna work fine. A medium light, maybe even a medium. Today I just brought up, you know, my favorite finesse rod. That's the Finesse Game Special Daiwa Steez. You know, and I did that on both my setups. So used an 8-pound leader today. You know, we're on super clear water. Doesn't mean you can't up this if you're fishing around brush or, you know, docks or whatnot. You can always up your leader. This bait comes in 3 different sizes: 5-inch, 4.3, and 3.7. So whether you want that little bit bigger profile, you know, the Neko rig works well with all 3 of these sizes, as well as the drop shot. just kind of apply what size works best for you and your body of water. For hooks, that OSP Scrum Hook, if you want to go weedless, you can also, you know, just fish that Neko rig exposed. But I really like that Scrum Hook by OSP, lets me get through all the stuff. And then that Decoy Shot Rig nose hook, always my go-to when I'm wacky rigging soft plastics or nose hook and stuff. Pretty simple, guys, just a unique worm that your fish haven't seen, and it's been my pick this month. I've, you know, had some success in some local tournaments and just fishing, and it's been a really fun one. It's gonna stay in my arsenal. I hope you guys give it a shot, and it's sweet. Check it out. All right, now let's take it over to Griff and see what he picked for this month. This should be interesting.
How's it going, everybody? Griff here. The month of July, it came and it went. Jeff, that was a fast month.
It is.
I feel like we were just in this seat talking about the same exact thing, right? The month of July, for us, it's a great time to throw some top water. We can have a lot of fun throwing things around, all kinds of different things. The one bait that I spent a lot of time with, the Megadog Big. All right, what is the Megadog Big? Soft plastic crawler that is still considered in the shad and not the bug size. We're used to seeing the small crawlers. They're like, you know, ciglets and bugs and things like that. This one right here is big enough to be a bait fish, but can still be a bug, a beetle, whatever you wanted to call it. All right, so this one right here is the biggest of the two sizes that they make. They do make a smaller one. It's the one that I like to throw around because I can really cast it. All right, it's super heavy, it's dense, it's made of that stretchable plastic, and it floats. All right, it's got these plastic wings on there. They don't fold, the wings are just there in the perfect shape all the time, right? So when you cast it, it does a little crawling action. I feel like the faster I'm doing it, the more sound that I'm getting out of it. It's plopping, plop, 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 plop. It's not really doing a ton of side to side, but more like this. So as it's going through the water, it's plopping, it's creating like a trail behind it. It's making a lot of commotion. The tail on there, a little jig skirt material, it's definitely grabbing the attention of the fish. I've been fishing in all kinds of places. I did some urban stuff, we did some big lake stuff, I did some river stuff, and I had it with me every time I went out, and I was able to catch fish in most of the places that I went. One other cool thing about it is that as the summer progresses, a walking bait that has a ton of noise to it, it will kind of like not get bit as much as a silent walking bait. So you can pull these wings out, and then you have a soft plastic walking bait. Boom, just like that. And it walks really well. It's short, so you're not going to get a huge glide out of it, but it's going to get enough. It's going to spit a little bit of water. It's going to have a ton of action on it. Easy to take out and put the wings back in. Boom, just like that. And it's weird because I always just put them in my pocket before I go fishing. You saw me pull them out of my pocket the other day, Jeff. Yeah, I just put them in my pocket. There's no hook on them, so they can just sit in there. They don't take any space up in my box. I carry like 2 or 3 of these with me everywhere I go, and boom, they catch fish. The hook that I'm using is going to be a 4/0 Bellows. The Bellows is a little bit thicker than an infinity hook. The infinity hook is my favorite hook on the planet, but this one is going to have the same hybrid shape to it, but it's a little bit thicker. So with that plastic being so thick, you're going to need a little bit more to get penetration on there. So a little bit more of a hook set. It's not going to bend the hooks out. It's going to hold it in there pretty good. There's the setup. There's the hook. It's just in there. Boom, I like this. One other thing I really like about this is that you can skip it really, really well. With or without the wings, it skips. So if you're fishing trees, overhanging trees, or tulies that are hanging over, you can just skip it in there, give it a couple reels, it's gonna plop its way out of there. And that's usually when you're gonna get bit. It's when you get it real tight to cover. So I am throwing this on a 110 special, all right? I'm using the 110 special because it is a little bit softer than, say, like your standard single hook rod. All right, it's got a lot of bend to it, and I'm using that because I am skipping it a lot. All right, so it's soft enough, I can skip it. It's gonna absorb the impact on the way back, and I can get it in there, and I'm able to skip it really, really well. All right, I use it on braid. I'm not using a fluoro leader on this because of the rod is a little bit softer. So I need a little bit tighter of a line so I can get those hook sets without a massive hook set. I need I need to be a softer hook set and to penetrate. So that's a J-Braid Grand, super soft. Allows me to skip it really well. It comes off the reel super amazing. My reel right here is a Daiwa More Than, but you know, the Steez is an amazing rod. I've used it on the Steez, the Daiwa Zillion, anything that you use to do like your small topwater stuff. It's going to be a great option for it. All right, so that's where I am. That's where I was this month, fishing the Micro Dodge Big, and thank you very much. All right, guys, now we're going to go send it over to Luis, see what he's doing.
What is up, guys? It's your boy, Luis, or that boy Segoy, on the gram. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite new baits that I've been throwing around a lot. It's the Killer D from Raid Japan. It comes in at about 3 inches and a quarter, an ounce and a half. And one thing I really like about it is that weight, right? It's one of these little bit bigger baits, but you don't need that real big gear to be chucking it around, you know? It's more user-friendly. This is one that it took me a little while to figure out, but it's really paid off. I've gotten a lot of big bites on it, and just some bites that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten in some like more tougher spots. So kind of replaced, not that I don't throw it anymore, but it works like a crawler, or kind of that's how I've been throwing it as, you know. I really started getting bit when I slowed it down, and it gets really loud when this blade is just knocking up against the back end there. And that's one thing I think that sets this bait aside from a lot of the other baits this style, is this cup shape in the back. Kind of like amplifies and makes a really loud clang with this copper blade. Just draws them in, you know. Like even on the walk, I've gotten bit on that a couple times recently. My biggest fish actually came on the walk, so that was kind of cool. Just, you know, variations of how you can mix it up a little bit. So this is how it's gonna come stock. It's got some really gnarly trebles on there. I really like these hooks too, but I typically on this kind of bait, I just upgrade it straight to the quads. Like I'm not gonna miss a bite if I actually finally get one, you know. Like, so at any kind of these bigger wake baits, bigger topwaters, I like to throw on the Ryugi Pierce quads. That kind of goes for any larger topwater. And this guy, I was running these blades on here, kind of like my little modification I've done. And just for some of these smaller waters, I've been noticing like a lot of these little bait fish coming up to the surface or just getting chased. So I was getting bit on this already. The sound kind of had them pretty interested. So I didn't really want to get away from this bait, but I was kind of wanting to extend the bite. So I just was like, you know, I've seen a lot of Japanese baits kind of similar, and they hang these little blades off, and I was like, you know, why don't I give that a try? And I've noticed too, like all the fish I'm catching are eating that front hook, so they're really targeting those little blades and stuff. So for a lot of those bigger topwaters and like smaller glide baits, I've been really liking the Diffuser, the Gladiator Anti, sorry. This rod, I'd say like top 2 of my rods that I pretty much don't leave the house with. It's just very broad. You could throw a lot of things on it, like a bladed jig as well. Some like bigger square bills and stuff like that I really like throwing. The GI, some of the crawlers and stuff like that. And then I have it paired with just a Steez A. So good for like some of those little bit bigger baits, you know. Yeah, typically I got, I don't know, 40, 50 pound braid, something like that. And then the leader line I use is 18 to 20. Those little bit bigger baits. Usually if they're gonna commit to something like that, I'm not worried about them being line shy. They're gonna eat it. So this bait is honestly becoming like one of my favorite larger wake style baits. I'm honestly reaching for it sometimes over the crawler now, which is pretty surprising. I really like, you know, crawlers and all that stuff, but I'm noticing quite a bit of drawing power, and like it really is paying off to throw it at some of these more pressured waters. So I hope you guys give it a shot, and like it does the same for you. I'm gonna pass it over to Jeff, and he's gonna take it from here.
What's going on, guys? It's Chef here, and for the month of July, my Staff 5 pick was a bait that I saw here in the shop like a year ago that I was very, very curious about, and I was wondering that where could I put it in my own fishing, and I learned quite a bit about it, and that is the Megabass Garuda. This is a 236 millimeter, 4.6 ounce multi-piece swim bait that has a bill that's made by Megabass. Now, a lot of guys may not even know what this bait is, just because unfortunately Megabass has discontinued this bait, but we still had a few in the shop. So I wanted to go out and give it a shot to see what it could do and where I could actually put it in my own arsenal to see if it could be a new staple or if it's just another multi-piece swim bait. And to my surprise, I found that this bait is actually really, really cool. First, let's talk about the features on the bait. The bait has this quite large bill on the front of the bait, which will allow it to dive, but it's really made to be kind of a deflecting style bill to where you can crank it down, hit it up against rock or trees and stuff like that, and you can get this deflect really, really well. The main feature that I wanted to point out, which is very, very small, but there is a small little line tie down here. And basically that line tie was made to have a grenade weight attached to the bait to where you could sink it down to some of that deeper depth and fish it in that 15, 20, 25 plus feet of water and kind of just crank it along on the bottom. That was basically the whole design of the Garuda, was to basically put a heavyweight up in the front on the line tie and fish it in deeper water. However, I wanted to see how it would do in a higher water column situation, so I fished it around some bluff walls, some trees, and I was able to actually catch a bass on it fairly quickly. And the way that I was fishing it was how I like to fish a bait around this time of year, and that's kind of just fishing tight up against the wall and giving it an erratic action, especially if I see them chasing shad. So basically throwing this thing down a wall, giving it some light twitches, getting the bait to kind of dead walk in place, got me the bite that you guys will see here in a second. Now, a cool feature with this bait is it comes with these pads here, and with these pads you can actually put them here on the side, and what that will do is instead of the ABS hitting and knocking, you can put dampeners, so it's going to sound a lot more quiet, and so just sounds a little more natural to the fish underwater, especially if you feel like you're fishing around fish that are highly pressured, or you just want a bait to be a little more subtle. You can put those joint pads in the middle and it'll dampen the sound of that ABS hitting back and forth. Another cool thing is this top section here is actually a magnet slot, so you can put a hook here if you wanted to fish this thing truly down on the bottom and you want it to be a lot more snag proof or snagless. So you can take off these trebles here, run like a wire rig somehow to the top of the bait. You basically will have a bait that's able to be cranked down on the bottom, and you won't hang up on trees or rocks. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this bait. The action on it is pretty good. It's got a nice cranking action. You can twitch it, and it's a really, really fun bait to fish. Kind of sad that Megabass has discontinued it, but hey, at least we have a few that are still left in the shop for you guys to check out. The setup that I was using was the Megabass, the Blackjack. I really, really love this rod. It's basically a 7-11 extra heavy swimbait rod, rated for that 2 to 6 ounce range is kind of where this lives. So throwing the Garuda on this rod felt really good. Daiwa Tatula 300 in a faster gear ratio, and then I believe I was using 20-pound fluorocarbon. So kind of just your basic extra heavy swim bait setup can throw this bait if you guys are able to get your hands on one. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this month's Staff 5. I know you guys have been loving them, so we're going to keep trying, hopefully get some new faces as well, see some unique styles of baits brought to the channel, and so on and so forth. So thank you guys again so much for watching. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.